Hello, I'm Ken. In this video, we're going to look at a more complicated pop-up mechanism. I recently used this method while playing with Concord and Nine's Boardwalk stack. That set came with so many parts, I thought it would be fun to separate out the roller coaster into its own surprise pop-up within the pop-up. The best way I can describe this mechanism is a hinged pull-tab double pop-up. I do apologize it's taken me a while to make this video. A few things I like to say, I'll try to be quick. I'm a relatively new crafter, about a year and a half now. I love making interactive cards and sharing them. I'm honestly very surprised and flattered whenever I get comments asking for a tutorial. It's not my habit nor my process to document while I create, and I certainly do not assume that I might have to explain my process. I admire all the crafters that can articulate their process clearly. It is certainly a skill set, a different kind of skill set from card making that I still find daunting. I worry about the editing, the pacing, the explaining. Early on, my cards repurposed and combined Karen Bernstein dies, and it was easy for me to reference her tutorials, as she is a professional at explaining mechanisms. So it's gotten progressively harder as my cards move away from using her dice into mechanisms I'm just experimenting with, or back to this particular card, which is a mechanism inspired by what I saw through my pop-up book collection. So sorry about the rambling, but this is why it's taken me so long to make a video. I want to give a shout out to Matthew Reinhart. He's a master paper engineer of pop-up books. He uses this double pop-up method to incredibly brilliant effect in many of his books. Note that I will only be going through creating the base mechanism in this video and not the decorative simple pop-up attachments. I've also included two other variations of this card at the end of this video. So here we go. Starting with an A2 size heavy card base, mark a line at ½ inch down from the top edge. Put it aside. For the mechanism inside, we'll be using a full sheet of lighter 80-pound cardstock. First, let's cut the piece at 6 inches. So this piece will be 6 inch by 8.5 inches. I decided on this 6-inch width to fit nicely inside an A2 size card, and because you can stencil and stamp easily at this size. This piece will be the card within the card. We're going to line it on the long side and score it at 4 inches. So note that one side will be ½ an inch longer. The slightly longer side will be the top flap. Make sure you crease the folds very well with your bone folder. I recommend folding it and scoring it from both sides. Next, turn the sheet 90 degrees and we're going to score it down in the center at 3 inches. Score it well. Now, take a pencil and we're going to mark a line at ½ an inch on the top flap portion. Remember, that's the 4.5 inch long side. Then we're going to make a mark at the 1 inch mark on the shorter 4 inch bottom flap. Looking at the sheet where the fold has two even 3 inch sides, and eyeball and mark it at the 1 and 2 inch mark because we're going to cut a slot at the center inch. Make sure this is the shorter side, the 4 inch side, the bottom flap. And we're going to cut a slot. Take a pair of scissors and just trim it so it's about the 1/16 of an inch opening for this 1 inch on the bottom flap. After we're done with that, we are going to make sure the whole thing is folded very well. So work and rework the folds on each side using your bone folder. Get all the crease down very well. This is how it will sit in eventually, but we need to reduce the bulk of the center fold. So take scissors and cut two very thin slots from the double fold. It should look something like this when you open it up. And we need to work on the hinge piece to attach them together. The hinge piece will be 1/2 inch with the top and bottom tab also measuring 1/2 inch. So the whole thing we're going to cut is 1.5 inches, scoring it each at the 1/2 inch mark. Next, we need 2 stabilizer pieces, each measuring 1.5 inch, and they're going to be scored in the middle at 3/4 inch. So we should have these 3 scored long pieces. First, let's work on the hinge. Fold and score the two tabs of the hinge, the top and bottom. They should both fold inwards. Next, we're going to cut them to size, which is 2 pieces at a little less than 3 inches each, because our center is 6 inches wide with 3 inch on each side, so just a little less than 3 inches. And now we're going to glue them onto the base A2 card. Remember that line that we drew at the beginning, which is 1/2 inch down from the top. Line it up with the hinge and glue it on. Glue both of the hinges with the one tab folding down and lined up against that mark, the 1/2 inch mark. It should look something like this, the 2 hinges. Now we're going to attach the main piece. Apply glue to the top tab of the hinges. Make sure the inner piece is lined up with the center fold exactly, and also make sure that you have it in the correct orientation, with the 4.5 being the top piece, the top fold. It should look something like this with the hinge working. It's all 1/2 inch, so even when it's extended up top, it will line up with the edge. So we had made the marks with 1/2 inch on the top and 1 inch with this slot on the bottom. This is where we're going to use the other 2 pieces that we cut. These were scored at 3/4 inch, which is halfway, because we're going to double it up and glue it for strength. These will be the stabilizer pieces. So it's doubled up and glued together, and we're going to make a fold around 1/4 inch, which is where we're going to attach it to our card. So to attach the stabilizers, apply glue to the top fold, insert it through the slot on the bottom, and line up the top fold against the 1/2 inch mark we made. Try to keep it as straight as possible on both sides. Don't worry that it's too long, because we're going to trim it and it will double up as our pull tab later. But here, I find it really hard to explain, so I want you to look at the footage and see how the hinge works. It should work like that and move up and down. But as it's closed up like that, we're going to trim off the 2 stabilizers at where it extends past the bottom fold. Then flip the whole thing up and apply glue to the 2 stabilizers. About 1/2 inch is about good for both stabilizers. Then we fold it close and press it together. Make sure it's glued on nicely. Then apply glue to the piece that we just cut off and attach it back on to the center, and these will be your pull tabs. just make sure you glue them on the top of the bottom piece, and one on each side towards the center. They should be on either side of the fold. And now when you pull it, it should animate the hinge and flip open. So it's a pop-up within the pop-up, and the way it should work is on the top flap, you should use your V-fold, which are the pop-ups that crosses the center fold. And when you pull it open for the vertical, and because of the stabilizers, you should use your parallelograms, which are the square box shapes. Something like this, that has two folds and it's like a box. One of the final things to do is to make sure you trim off the pull tab so it does not extend past the card, and make a strip with an arrow marked on it so people know to pull on the pull tab. And this is how the hinged pull tab double pop-up should work. I have some examples besides the boardwalk stack that I used earlier. They are coming up next, and one is of a museum and one is a Thanksgiving themed. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you understood this complicated pop-up. Thank you very much. Enjoy.